What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So it's been a minute. We're back here. I'm actually recording this first video on my brand new phone. I switched over to Samsung. Was having some problems with my iPhone, and I'm kind of glad to have a fresh start. But first order of business, I did have to make a new Instagram. Please go follow me over there. I no longer have access to my old Instagram. About 3 or 4 accounts actually I no longer could gain access to on the Samsung. If I had an iPhone, maybe I'd be able to get back onto those accounts, but I'm not really sure what happened. They just kind of got lost in the matrix, so to speak. But I did start a new Instagram. It's really nice to have a fresh start on Instagram as well. And maybe there'll be like some kind of underlying theme in this video about fresh starts. Maybe that's kind of the universe trying to teach me a lesson, just about, starting things over and, being positive, and upbeat about things, as they say. So did I even say the name of the Instagram? No, I didn't. But follow me on my new Instagram at Andrew Marlowe Artist Official. I know it's a mouthful, but that seemed to be the most convenient thing. So it's Andrew Marlowe Artist Official. I think just the regular name you'll see is just my name, Andrew Marlowe Kermitas or something. But just make sure you type in Andrew Marlowe Artist Official. I've been in the process of uploading all my old paintings and old drawings, but I don't want to just spam the new page like all day long. So I'm just going to kind of slowly rebuild my my art page on Instagram. So it'll be fun. We can do it together. Maybe we can have some conversations about what kind of art you guys want to see. I'm working on some new art, always. I was very busy this semester though. I did quite a bit of drawing. But the last couple of weeks as the semester was ending, I've been having a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, actually. Just kind of feeling overwhelmed and just kind of like, not feeling creative. And I'll just have these panic attacks. I've been getting migraines left and right. But the semester finally ended about 2 or 3 days ago. I got everything done. And I did very well, considering I did have to drop my science course. I think I mentioned to you guys about that. I didn't have time to really keep up with it. I was so busy with my art history classes and also my philosophy course that I need for my major. So now all the art history courses are done pretty much, except for the final course that I have to take, which is like called senior capstone or senior thesis, and I'm assuming I'll be writing an essay of some kind for that. But until then, I'm just sort of getting a couple more electives out of the way. Is that what they call them? Electives or required electives. I have to take something called Impact of Technology, and that's like a broad range of courses, okay? I'm not really sure what Impact of Technology means, but I opted for the digital writing course, so that's going to be a lot of writing, I assume. So let's wish me luck. And I'm taking a studio art class because I've opted to do a minor in studio art for a couple different reasons. But yeah, I'm going to be taking a minor in studio art, so I'll have my bachelor's in art history as well as a minor in studio art. And if I decide I like it, I might actually major in studio art as well, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm taking those 2 classes. What else? I'm taking a third. For some reason, it's escaping my memory at the moment. Taking 1 studio class, taking digital writing, and then what's the third course I register? Oceanography, because that's another science. So I'm gonna have to work really hard again this semester, and it's right around the corner. Like, it doesn't even feel like that much of a break right now, as much as it did in the past. I don't know if they shaved off time or if I was just feeling more stressed or wasn't managing my time or something. But it doesn't feel like, usually it feels like I have like a whole month off, but now we're already halfway through December and we just got done like 2 days ago. So I don't know, maybe they tweaked the academic schedule or something. It just doesn't feel like as quite of a break as it usually does, unless my calculations are off, because I think next semester starts maybe like the week of the 12th, or it might actually be the week of like the 20th of January. So maybe it is about a month. I think I still have at least another 2 or 3 weeks, at least another 3 or 4 weeks, I would say. I can't really do the math in my head, and it doesn't really matter. But I did want to just kind of reflect on my semester. I'm not going to get into anything super profound at the moment, but I'll tell you that it was a lot of hard work. I have a lot of anxiety, and I'm so busy with working 2 jobs and trying to go to school and sleep and eat and just have some human time away from all that stuff, creative time, I did not really have sort of the ability to keep up as much as I would have liked. You know, ideally I would have been able to keep that science, but I had to drop that because I just couldn't keep up with it. The science courses nowadays are extremely difficult, and you know, especially if you're taking it online, you have to do these modules, and they take like 2 and 3 hours sometimes just to get through them. And you got to take tests and labs, and I don't. It kind of makes me angry, so I don't want to get into the science courses at the moment. But maybe, who knows? Maybe in another 10 years we'll still be sitting here because I still can't pass my science course. But I'm not anticipating that. But you never know. So yeah, so I was just really kind of overworked. I wasn't really feeling in the zone. There were times when I was, you know, I was inspired and I felt, you know, like I was improving. But anyway, like I said, we'll kind of keep that stuff for another video because I could go on a whole nother, you know, hour just talking about college and all that good stuff. You know, I did a lot of reading for college. I had to read a lot of articles. I did get a lot out of philosophy course. I took it from this guy named Dr. Fung. He was Chinese. And it was super interesting. I did not really know much about philosophy until I took his course. But I do think that's a gap in my education and a gap in most students, at least from my experiences. We don't have a foundation in the classics. And what I, you know, when I say the classics, I basically mean classical literature, classical philosophy, and classical ancient religion or literature. Because when you're studying art history, you know, especially from certain time periods like the Renaissance and all that stuff, it's all about classical religion and classical mythology and classical history. So I think for me, I'm really trying to supplement part of that I was never really taught. You know, for some reason they just kind of assume you're ready to take art history, and for the most part you are, because you can learn all that stuff through the trajectory of just taking a lot of art history courses. But I do feel like I just have a huge ignorance. It's hard to interpret. It's hard to really interpret and really understand the art in art history if you don't really know what it's about. And of course, your teachers can tell you what it's about. You can read scholarly articles about what it's about, but it's probably not the same as if I had had a really good, strong background in the classics. You know, I feel like I would be much better off. I'm gonna drink some water here. Man, it's gonna be a long life update. But so going further with the college stuff, apart from sort of the stress that I was feeling and all that stuff, I did do 2 presentations for 2 of my classes, and I feel like I got a lot better at public speaking, so I'm happy about that. I presented my research on my Tintoretto painting called Susanna and the Elders that I'm writing about, and then for my Greek sculpture class, I wrote about Praxiteles' Aphrodite. So I got a lot out of that, and then this coming semester I have three papers I have to present. I think I bit off more than I can chew, but they have these things at my college called research symposiums, and they're very professional. You present your research in front of faculty and other students and other people from the university. So it's a really good experience. It's really good having your resume. Having said that, it does take up a lot of time and it can be stressful. And on top of that, a couple of years ago, I took this class called Asian Art with this wonderful professor. And I saw her, I just kind of ran into her at the art museum, and we sort of were talking. And she asked me about the Chrysler Symposium. She said, you should really submit and try to get into this. And, you know, I was kind of like hesitant. But anyway, I did get accepted, so I'm presenting a paper about Hiroshige and Hokusai and a couple other, Japanese Asian artists at the Chrysler. And the Chrysler is a very, very prestigious, museum. So, you know, it's going to be very exciting, but a little nerve-wracking at the same time. So yeah, as far as my academic efforts, that's kind of what we have in the future. I'm working at the art museum until early January, and then I've decided to, what is my phone doing now? Okay, just making sure. Always got to worry about beeps and alarms and all this stuff. So after early January, I'll be kind of taking a break from the museum. Just because it is like, 20, 25 hours a week that I could be using for studying and for going to class and just spending more time on campus and stuff. So that's what I will be doing. I'll still be, involved with the museum, obviously, in different ways. Had a great experience there, but we'll save that stuff for a different video. So kind of, I don't want to say lastly, but the next segment of this video, we'll see what happens after this. But I do want to talk about some books. As you guys are well aware, we've been sort of introducing some literature book, scholarly content. So we're going to continue with that a little bit. Just going to talk a little bit about the books I'm currently reading and some books that I've finished. I did finish the Joey Kramer autobiography, and it was pretty good. It was damn good. It probably wasn't the best, it wasn't as good as Randy Blythe's book or whatever, but this is a completely different story. But I did, you learn a lot about music from reading this, and you learn a lot about, sort of the music culture of the 70s. It wasn't too degenerate. It wasn't like a Motley Crue book or anything. Joey Kramer seems like he's a little less of a degenerate than most of his peers, as we would say. But I think I told you guys a little bit about his story. He suffered from abuse from his father and also from Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler was real sort of mentally abusive towards him, just kind of criticizing his musical ideas and trying to control him. And then he ended up kind of getting married to a woman that was also kind of abusive towards him. Somebody's trying to call me here. And he's sort of the duality of Joey Kramer's life struggles is his understanding the difference between love and abuse, and that's kind of what this book is about. And it's about his drug addiction and his drinking problems, and a little bit of Aerosmith history and stuff. So it was pretty interesting. It's entertaining. I probably won't pick it up for a long time. Those type of books are kind of just a one-off, one read through type of deal. Occasionally I go back to, music bios, but not too often. And I feel like I'm missing one other book that I feel like I maybe finished lately, but I've looked through my shelves and I can't really seem to remember what it must have been. Maybe it was just the Joey Kramer book. But I did start, in my last video, we talked a little bit about Marcel Proust. I told you guys I was starting Swann's Way, and I did not anticipate how quickly we were going to get through this book, guys. But as you can see, I'm almost done. I think I've got maybe about another 100 pages out of this 600-page book. I started this book on Halloween night, actually. I remember this, or maybe the night before Halloween, and I've kind of just gotten through it. So yeah, Marcel Proust. We'll probably do a updated book review of this, but maybe we can just talk briefly about it. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about the writing style, and we'll just kind of do a quick little recap just to kind of refresh my own memory, and maybe I'll understand what I've read a little bit better. So basically, the book starts out with the narrator, which we assume is Marcel Proust, but he's never really named, and he has a really close relationship with his mother. And his mother always gives him like a goodnight kiss. And that's sort of like this childhood romantic memories that he kind of starts reliving, growing up in Cambrai in France. And the first part of the novel is kind of about his family and sort of the upper class bourgeoisie people that they interact with. But he talks, Marcel Proust is very, very layered and sort of, I don't want to say complex, but he has this, I was trying to think of another word to say besides stream of consciousness, but that's kind of what his style is. It's almost like Thomas Wolfe, but I would say it's much more layered and more complex than somebody like Thomas Wolfe. This is just my first experience reading Marcel Proust, but there's so much happening with it in every single sentence and every single part. It's almost overwhelming to try to sort of take it all in one reading. You really can't. Having said that, the reading is very, very smooth and very, very enjoyable, and it's just beautiful writing. As we talked about previously, he was a French novelist, so his novels are translated from French. So make of that what you will, but the translations are just sublime, just beautiful translations. And like I said, in the beginning of the book, baby Marcel Proust, I guess we could say, is very attached to his mother, kind of, and they have this sort of relationship where he will go downstairs and not really want to bother his mother, but at the same time he wants her attention just for like a moment or two before he goes to bed. And he waits up at night sort of observing all the sounds and all the smells and everything he hears and all the people coming and going from his house and all this interesting stuff. And I'm not exactly sure where that relationship is going with him and his mother. but it was like a major theme of the early part of the novel. And then we kind of drift to different descriptions of his home at Cambrai, the different rooms, the different people that start coming there. There's all these like sort of upper class bourgeoisie, rich people that his family knows that they travel to. Lots of different characters. And then the novel sort of shifts about halfway through, maybe a little less, a little more, to a character named Swan. And the book is called Swan's Way because, I would say at least half of the novel is about swans. I forgot what his full name is. I want to say Charles Swan, actually, I think his name is. He's like this rich guy. I'm not sure how he's related to Proust's family exactly, but he's like sort of related to them by marriage or just by his upper class lifestyle or something, right? So for some reason, the narrator or whoever is really telling the story drifts into this extremely descriptive introspection and dialogue of Swan, and sort of there's this idea of Swan's Way, and then there's this other character called, what is it called? Gourmantes or something, Gourmantes. And there's another book, a couple, I think it might be the one after this or in a couple ones after that, but it's actually called Gourmantes Way. This one's called Swan's Way. And I'm sort of still trying to decipher what he's getting at with what he means by Swan's Way or Gourmantes Way. And I think initially it means where they come from. Like there's like these different roads that Proust sort of describes to you where these people come from, and they come down these like old country roads or something. And it's also a metaphor for their life and their personality. I think that's why it's called Swan's Way, because it's like about Swan's perspective on the world. But anyway, Swan's an interesting character. He sort of hangs out with artists, and he goes to rich people's houses, and they have little concerts. There's a lot of classical music in this. And what's interesting about Proust is that he will compare people to people in paintings, like classic ancient paintings, and also Renaissance Baroque paintings, 1800s paintings. So it's really cool. He talks about the characteristics that he notices from the art gallery when he sees a painting, and then he'll use that to describe somebody or something. So as you can see, it's very, very intriguing. I've never read anything quite like Marcel Proust. I wouldn't say that Marcel Proust. Anyway, let's get back to what I was saying about the short little synopsis here. So anyway, Swan falls in love with this woman named, God, what is her name? Why am I forgetting? I can't think of her name right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. Odette. I don't know how I could forget that. So there's this woman named Monsieur Odette, or Mademoiselle. I'm not really sure what is. I'm not very well at French, but I think it's either a Mademoiselle or a Monsieur. I think a Monsieur might be for men. But anyway, Odette is sort of like this sort of coquettish, sort of aloof type of woman that Swan falls in love with. And for some reason, when they're first introduced, they're introduced through like mutual friends or family connections or something. And he doesn't really like her that much at first because he says she's not his type and all that kind of stuff, but ends up falling deeply in love with Odette. And he sort of becomes a romantic. He's a very romantic man, but he's also paranoid because he knows and he feels that Odette is kind of, not 100% faithful to him. So there's a lot of stuff with that that's really interesting. And I think he kind of becomes disillusioned with Odette. I don't want to tell you guys the whole thing in case you guys decide to read it. So basically, there's the omnipresent narrator that the novel starts with, and then it talks a little bit about his mother and his grandfather and his father. There's just a decent sort of slew of different characters, but then we kind of get to this outside realm where we're talking about Charles Swan and Odette and sort of their relationship. And it's kind of interesting because it kind of takes you away from the omnipresent narrator. But maybe about, I don't know, this much way back into it, we start hearing from the omnipresent narrator again. And he's sort of reflecting again from his perspective on Swan and Odette versus the first person of Swan and Odette that we were kind of getting before. And it sort of starts to talk about, the omnipresent narrator's thought process again. So I'm almost done, maybe another 100 pages. I'm really excited to see where it goes, and we will do a book update on that if you guys are interested in that. And I'm still getting through Marcus Aurelius. I kind of forgot to mention this a couple times in my previous book. I got this beautiful Classics Club edition from 1946. Beautiful condition, just beautiful pages. So Marcus Aurelius, super cool. I think it's hard to appreciate something like Marcus Aurelius, but I think it's extremely beneficial to teach people how to be more simple-minded, how to teach people how to be more stoic. Nowadays, this would be considered toxic masculinity by the Marxists, but I'm still going to give 2 thumbs up to Marcus Aurelius. This book also has some other people in it, like Lucian and, some other people. Pater, I'm not sure who he is. And so, yeah, we're kind of still getting through that. It's kind of like my little bedside reading at night after I read the Bible. I'm reading the Gospels currently now, which is pretty interesting. So I haven't really mentioned this either, but we're still getting through Herodotus, the Histories. I don't know if I ever talked about this yet, that I actually started reading this. And I haven't really buzzed through it. Regrettably, it's just so dry. I think it's important history and it's kind of interesting, but there's so many different characters that Herodotus is mentioning that I have no idea who they are. He talks about different ancient Greek tribes and ancient Greek wars and ancient Greek, and you learn a little bit about Egypt as well, and the sort of the struggles that ancient Greece had with Syria, which is pretty interesting, and or Persia, maybe it's either Syria or Persia, a lot of different places. He talks about the ancient Amazon tribe, the women warriors, and it is interesting. It's just so dry, and for some reason, like once I start reading it, I kind of start getting into it, but I never really wake up and say, hey, I want to read Herodotus today. But I'm kind of getting through it. I think if I can kind of struggle through it, for some reason I have bad luck with Penguin books. At least with this edition, like I tend to struggle through Penguin books for some reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's something about the formatting that just makes them look so daunting. But I read big books all the time. Like this one is never daunting. It just kind of goes by, and the pages are beautiful and fluffy. And this one, I don't know, it just feels like daunting, like you're never going to finish it. But I feel like I should keep reading it. I've made lots of annotations in here. I don't think this type of reading is something that you can really appreciate from the first go around. Even something like Swann's Way by Marcel Proust, although I am enjoying it very well, there's probably so much that I'm missing that's going in the back of my mind. So that's why my brother and I were talking about the other day, like sometimes you read something and it's just like one time around is not good enough because it's so dense and there's so many layers to whatever is going on in there. So yeah, a little bit about Herodotus and the histories, and I still kind of bring it with me to the art gallery and stuff, and to my other job, and we're getting through it. It is very interesting. I think it's important to get perspective of different ancient cultures, perspectives or mindsets. So last but not leastly, we started Jay Dyer's Esoteric Hollywood. I'm very excited about this. Having said that, as excited as I was about this, I'm also coming to this book with a little bit of a ignorance. It's not quite what I suspected. I was expecting it to be a little more maybe entertaining, which it is, but it's very scholarly and it's very much centered around religion and philosophy and geopolitics and kind of all this stuff that I didn't think, stuff that I thought I knew better than I did. But he talks a lot about symbolism, talks a lot about Kabbalah, talks a lot about espionage and different, not so much espionage in this one, but he's basically let me try to explain this to you guys. Basically, some of you guys are probably familiar with Jay Dyer, and his research and his content focuses on Hollywood movies and the symbols and sort of the agendas behind Hollywood. And also he's an Orthodox, so he talks a lot about orthodoxy, talks a lot about ancient religion. I think he has a master's degree in philosophy. So he's, comes from a philosophical perspective and sort of a non-postmodern perspective, which is great because I'm so sick of, hearing about postmodernism and being taught postmodernism, it's really nice to get a different kind of perspective. And I'm interested in kind of esoteric, scary, dark things. So Jay Dyer is a really good place to start. And he basically breaks down a series of movies. It basically tells you, sort of the underlying themes that the director or the producers or the actors were involved in. And he talks a lot about, correlations you can draw throughout the history of Hollywood. And his thesis basically centers around the fact that Hollywood is trying to basically get us into sort of a very lazy, catatonic state where we don't really notice really what we're being indoctrinated to, but we can kind of experience it, on a subconscious level, so that they can kind of, implement. It's very, very complex. It sounds crazy when you try to explain it to somebody. Maybe if I read the back of it, it would make better sense. But basically, compiling his essays on philosophy, comparative religion, symbolism, and geopolitics, and their connections to film, readers will watch movies with new eyes, able to decipher on their own as the secret meanings of cinema. So he's not really necessarily telling you that all the stuff that he's claiming is true, but he's definitely making a very good case for it. And I know about some of it, like the Illuminati and, sort of the anti-religious stuff we see in Hollywood, the androgyny we see in Hollywood, the satanic agenda we see in Hollywood, especially now with the new like Marvel movies and all that stuff. But there's always been symbolism in Hollywood, and they definitely have an agenda that is akin to the occult and the left-hand path, so to speak. But you learn a lot about movies. You learn a lot about different philosophies, different writers. I've got this thing marked up pretty decently. I got a highlighter, but a lot of it is centered around Freemasonry and there's some symbolism that Freemasons use, which I'm not very well versed in. There's also, symbolism from Kabbalah and also Christianity and ancient, all kinds of religions, one-eyed symbolism in a lot of the Stanley Kubrick movies. And people think you're crazy when you talk about this stuff or when you're interested in it, but it's so refreshing to like read a book about it. Kind of all the stuff, the weird stuff that I'm interested in. He talks about Marilyn Monroe, talks about sort of the conspiracies behind the Wizard of Oz and all that good stuff. So Esoteric Hollywood, I'll maybe do a book review on this in the future. He's got the cover from Eyes Wide Shut on there, and he kind of breaks down the entire sort of concepts behind Eyes Wide Shut. And now I'm reading about the part about The Shining, which is really interesting. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the life update, guys. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting? I don't think so. I think that's a wrap. So make sure you guys follow me on the new Instagram at Andrew Marlowe Artist Official, and we'll talk to you guys very soon.